Stratigeas made her debut as a heel on the March 19, 2000 episode of Sunday Night Heat under the ring name Trish Stratus. She appeared on the stage to scout Test and Prince Albert. The next night on Raw is War. Test and Albert joined forces as the tag team T A and Stratus began her first role in the company as their valet. It was during her stint managing T A that Stratus took her first major bump in the ring, by being driven through a table by the Dudley Boyz at Backlash, after she had been taunting Bubba Ray Dudley for several weeks. A storyline feud between Stratus and Lita developed after the match, with Stratus attacking Lita on episodes of Raw and SmackDown. This led to an Indian strap match between the two women on the July 24th episode of Raw, which Stratus won with help from Stephanie McMahon. She finished the year competing unsuccessfully for the WWF Women's Championship numerous times, and separating from Test and Albert when the team disbanded. In early 2001, Stratus became involved in an angle with WWF Chairman Vince McMahon, during a time when Vince's wife Linda was kayfabe institutionalized following a demand Vince had made for a divorce, during the episode of SmackDown. On the February 19th episode of Raw, Stephanie and Trish were scheduled for a match, but it quickly got cancelled due to Stephanie getting stunned by Steve Austin. Stratus and Stephanie squared off, with Stephanie scoring the victory after a run-in by William Regal. In the midst of a tag team match that pitted Vince and Stratus against Regal and Stephanie the next night on Raw, Stratus was the victim of a setup by Vince, Stephanie, and Regal. Regal executed his finisher, the Regal Cutter, on Stratus, and Stephanie then dumped slop over Stratus' body. Vince stood over Stratus and he told her she was a toy, with which he had grown tired of playing with.
After a while, you get tired of playing with the toy strings.
The angle continued the next week on Raw, with Vince forcing Stratus to strip down to her black bra and panties in the ring and bark like a dog. The storyline came to an end at WrestleMania X7, when Stratus slapped Vince during his match against his son Shane. Women's Champion, from 2001 to 2003. Following her first face turn, Stratus began wrestling part-time. She teamed up with Lita against then-heels, Stacy Keibler and Tori Wilson at Invasion. After suffering an ankle injury in the summer, however, she was sidelined for the following 3 months. This interrupted not only her recent venture into wrestling, but also an on-screen romance with Jeff Hardy and budding storyline with Team Extreme. After returning in autumn, Stratus appeared at Survivor Series, where she won the WWF Women's Championship for the first time in a six-pack challenge. Stratus was next involved in a feud with Jazz over the Women's Championship, where she retained the championship at the Royal Rumble, but dropped the championship to Jazz 2 weeks later on the February 4, 2002 episode of Raw. Stratus then attempted to regain the title for several months, including competing in a triple threat match at WrestleMania X8 against Lita and Jazz in her hometown of Toronto, but failed to win the match. While chasing after the Women's Championship, 1 week later, she won the Women's Championship, for the second time in a tag team match with Bubba Ray Dudley, where she faced Richards and Jazz, where the Hardcore Championship was also on the line. Stratus landed a hard metal trash can shot to Jazz's head, which badly weakened her and allowed Stratus to win easily. During this time, Stratus began wrestling solely on the Raw brand after being drafted in the WWF brand extension. Stratus' second reign The two divas continued their storyline feud for the next 3 months. After a failed attempt to win the title in July, Stratus won the championship for the 3rd time at Unforgiven. While feuding with Holly, Stratus was also involved in an angle with new diva Victoria, who held a storyline grudge against Stratus, claiming she was betrayed by Stratus when they both worked as fitness models. The two competed in several title matches, with Stratus retaining until Survivor Series, where Victoria won the title in a hardcore match. Stratus and Victoria took part in the main event of the December 9, 2002 edition of Raw, where they were in an intergender tables match, with Stratus teaming with the Dudley Boyz and Victoria teaming with Chris Jericho and Christian. The match ended in victory for Team Stratus when she powerbombed Victoria through a table. On March 17, 2003, Victoria and Steven Richards defeated Jazz and Stratus in a tag team match when Jazz walked out on Stratus. After the match, Jeff Hardy saved Stratus from an attack by Victoria and Richards and then kissed her, resulting in Stratus becoming Hardy's on-screen girlfriend once more. The two would talk and kiss backstage, compete as an intergender tag team, and come to each other's aid when in danger during singles competition. At no point was their previous relationship acknowledged. The storyline was suddenly dropped when WWE released Hardy in April. This marked the 2nd time in 2 years that a romance between Stratus and Hardy abruptly ended due to a setback in one of their personal lives. In neither instance did the angle fully play out or reach a conclusion. Teaming and feuding with Lita, 2003 to 2005. In upcoming months, Stratus was placed into an alliance with Gail Kim. It was short-lived, however, as Kim turned on Stratus and teamed with Molly, putting the women in a storyline feud. The duo defeated Stratus and several tag teams partners until Stratus allied herself with a returning Lita. The team defeated Kim and Holly in several matches, including a match at Unforgiven. Stratus began an on-screen romance with Chris Jericho during the November 10 episode of Raw when she agreed to go on a date with him. Subsequently, they participated in an intergender tag team match as partners on December 1. After the match, Stratus overheard Jericho talking to then-heel Christian, who was involved in an on-screen romance with Lita at the time, about who could sleep with their respective woman first.
Okay, so you guys had a moment where you looked in each other's eyes?
Yep.
Big deal. I've been making out with Trish for the last 2 weeks. She's been falling for every single thing I've been saying. It's been absolutely pathetic. Pathetic.
Come on.
What?
I know you're into that hug, kiss, and cuddle stuff. I'm not into that, man. I'm already rounded third base. And I'm headed for home. Trish is a prude. She's a prude. She's locked at the knees. Lita. It's extreme. She's extreme.
Did you not hear what Trish was saying earlier? I've never felt this way before. How pathetic. How sad is that?
Sad.
I'll tell you something else. She's gonna be feeling something she's never felt before later tonight. Because I told you from the start, I could nail Trish before you nailed Lita. I'm gonna win the bet. That's so. That's so.
1 week later, Stratus and Lita confronted the men about their actions, leading to a feud between the two which resulted in a Battle of the Sexes tag team match at Armageddon, which the women lost. A rematch the next night ended in a no contest. Her relationship with Jericho continued into the next year with a new angle of Stratus developing feelings for Jericho. Christian would also briefly turn face once again, but only revealed to be a hoax as he would attack and defeat her in a match ordered by Eric Bischoff. This would start a feud between Christian and Jericho, who was defending Stratus. During their match at WrestleMania XX, however, Stratus turned heel by betraying Jericho and siding with Christian. Stratus claimed her reasons for siding with Christian were that he was a real man, and Jericho was a love-sick puppy. The duo feuded with Jericho for several months and competed in a 2-on-1 handicap match at Backlash. The team of Stratus and Christian were joined by problem solver Tyson Tomko the next night on Raw, until she suffered a legitimate broken hand in July that caused her to be out of action for approximately a month. Upon her return, she continued to defend the title against numerous challengers before losing the championship to Lita on December 6, when both women wrestled in the main event of Raw for the championship. Stratus recaptured the title for the 6th time a month later at New Year's Revolution, after Lita suffered a legitimate knee injury during the match. Stratus was originally booked to lose the championship back to Lita at WrestleMania 21, but due to Lita's injury, she wasn't cleared to wrestle. A new angle was then developed between Stratus and 2004 Raw Diva Search winner Christy Hem, over jealousy of Hem's Playboy magazine exposure, with Stratus attacking Hem with a chick kick and spray painting the word "slut" across her back. Stratus was challenged by Hem, who later revealed she was being trained by Lita, for the championship match at WrestleMania 21, where Stratus successfully retained her championship. Stratus would then demand a rematch against Hem the next night on Raw. Before the match started, Stratus hit Hem again with the chick kick and re-injured Lita's knee. The next week, after losing a tag team match, Stratus was chased around the arena by Lita's storyline husband, Kane, narrowly escaping. The week after, Stratus almost got choke slammed again onto the stage, but Viscera saved her. Stratus would then form a short-lived alliance with Viscera, who was ordered to protect her. Storyline with Mickie James, 2005 to 2006. May 2005, Stratus was sidelined with the Women's Championship after suffering a herniated disc, with the storyline explanation that Viscera had injured her at Backlash after she insulted him for losing to Kane. This left the company without a women's champion for 4 months, as Stratus remained the champion during the time of her injury, thus ignoring the 30-day clause stating that a champion must defend their respective title at least once every 30 days. She returned to Raw on September 12, 2005 as a face by siding with Ashley Massaro against Vince's Devils, Candice Michelle, Victoria, and Tori Wilson. The feud also involved the debuting Mickie James, who introduced herself as Stratus' biggest fan. In November, during the Eddie Guerrero tribute show, Stratus took part in an interpromotional Divas Battle Royal that was won by SmackDown Diva Melina. The next week, Eminem, Joey Mercury, and Johnny Nitro kidnapped Stratus for Melina, who challenged a tied-up and tape-gagged Stratus to a match for the Women's Championship. The two fought at Survivor Series, with Stratus defeating Melina. The odd relationship between Stratus and James continued into 2006, with the two divas competing against each other in a title match at New Year's Revolution, where Stratus emerged victorious. Despite the defeat, James continued to be enamored of Stratus, which made her feel uncomfortable, and on March 6, Stratus confronted James, telling her that she needed space. The duo briefly reconciled on the March 18 Saturday night's main event, teaming together to defeat Candice Michelle and Victoria. However, after the match, the match was and still is widely recognized as one of the best women's matches in the company. During a rematch at Backlash, Stratus suffered a legitimate dislocated shoulder after taking a bump to the outside of the ring. While she was rehabilitating for 6 weeks, she continued to appear on screen. Stratus returned to the ring on June 26, where she had a women's championship match with Mickie James. Stratus would go on to lose the match, thus finally ending their 9-month-long storyline. On same night, she started a romantic angle with Carlito after he saved her from a double-team attack by Melina and Johnny Nitro. After the pair interrupted Stratus' title match with Mickie James. Stratus' last match on Raw occurred on September 11, 2006, where she defeated former rival Mickie James. Semi-retirement. In late August, Lita stated that Stratus would retire following Unforgiven, which was later confirmed by Stratus. The most in WWE history, and she retired as the champion.